Okay, welcome. So today I'm going to be playing another visual novel, and this one is called Sounds for Love. And I tried doing a recording of this in the past, but I had the exact same mistake as with my other one, where I ended up playing it, and then when I went to do a recording of it, my files got deleted. So I figured this would be another good game that I could go ahead and stream live here. So I'm going to go ahead and go in here, and let's begin. Please enter a character name. Let's go with Lobster. That's going to be my go-to name now for my video games on this channel. Something is ringing. Why won't it stop? My hand limply reaches out towards the noise, but I can't seem to locate it. Must be around here somewhere. I sense something rigid at my fingertips. Suddenly, I hear a loud crash beside me, and then the ringing stops. Ugh. Forcing myself upright, an intense light greets my eyes. Beside me stands a hazy figure I can't make out. Do you mind not making so much noise in the morning? Your sister is still asleep. As my eyes adjust to the light, I see my mother standing beside me. I look downwards and see my table lying on the floor. My alarm clock, just next to it, broken into pieces. I'm not cleaning that up. Just get ready for school and come downstairs. I made breakfast. My mother walks off. I don't think she's particularly happy. Well, I doubt many parents would be with their children creating such a ruckus. Still, it wasn't my fault. I was half asleep, for crying out loud. I pry myself away from the bed sheets and pick up the table and the broken alarm clock off the floor. I check what the clock once read and conclude that it's almost 7 a.m. Unfortunately, today's Monday, so it's back to school with me. Although it's cliche, I'm not really looking forward to it. It's that I dislike it, but you'd think after, it's not that I dislike it, but you'd think after transferring here, things would have been a lot more lively. So far, nothing out of the ordinary has happened. Though I can't really expect life to be like that. This isn't a manga after all. Opening my drawers, I pull out my uniform. Still as good as new. Haven't had much time to wear it in. I've only been here for a week. For an international school, the uniform is quite generic. I was expecting something more prestigious. Well, I guess this is still Japan after all. Even though I've lived here all my life, my mother was dead set on sending me here. She's not a native, so she at least wanted me to connect with her side of the family. Despite a premise that getting in touch with my Anglican heritage was a good idea, the school isn't even English, it's Welsh. I'm pretty sure that's the country north of England. I don't think there's much difference anyway. After finishing doing up my blazer, I hear a shout from downstairs. Son, your breakfast will go cold at this rate. You may as well let me have yours if you're going to waste it. Letting out a sigh, I close the door to my room and head to join my parents. Reaching the dining room, my mother and father greet me with warm smiles. Maybe not so much my mother. I still think she's pretty pissed. My father gives me an empty chair, a haughty slap, still smiling all the while. Sit down, my son. We have a hefty breakfast your mother would approve of. Well, of course I would. I made it after all. In front of me sits a traditional English breakfast. Eggs, toast, beans, sausage, and the like. I don't think I can eat all of this. The empty chair is pulled out from beside me. I guess my sister finally woke up. When it comes to the mornings, she's not very talkative, or noticeable to say the least, but I'm sure she'll fire up later though. Ah yes, my beautiful family has gathered at last. My sister acknowledges my father with a quick glance and starts eating her breakfast in silence. Tell me, Lobster, how are your studies? Was that hefty fee worth it? The school is private and teaches a foreign curriculum, so tuition fees are quite large. Luckily, my father can pay for it, and it's only for my final year. It's going. It's okay. The initial buzz of it wore off after the third day. I guess it's like a normal school, not much different from the ones here in Japan. I did have an experience at a traditional Japanese high school, but due to our relocation to Tokyo, I had to transfer. If there's one noticeable comparison, it's the students. Most of them aren't natives, and a lot more are quite full of them, and a lot more are quite full of themselves. Even I'm only half Japanese. Really? That much for a normal school? Then what's the point of that fee then? You want our son to have the best education possible, right? That, and he's closer to my side of the family. Huh, reasonable. But tell me this though, son. Have you been speaking to any girls at least? Are you really asking him that? Both my parents engage in a stare-off. Things like this happen all the time. For them, this is only a bit of banter. Checking the clock on the wall, I realize I'm a bit behind schedule. I give my family a farewell and head towards the door. Wait, that clock is... I hear my sister say something just as I leave, though she doesn't chase after me to tell me. It was strange to hear her at that time of day, but I guess I can't fret about it now. I continue on my journey. I'm only just getting used to it. The street leading to the school is particularly empty. Only a couple of locals are walking by, and the number of students is quite low. Checking my watch, I realized that I had left considerably early. I guess the clock at home was a bit fast. A faint noise distracts me from my wrist. Ahead of me is a female student, presumably from my school, picking up the contents of her bag off of the floor. I guess she dropped it. I consider helping her, but by the time I move my feet towards her, she's already finished and continues onwards to the school. She rubs the back of her head and her braids sway softly in the wind. Just as I pass where she was standing, I notice a small card on the floor. Instinctively, I pick it up. In my hands is a library card, with what I assume to be her name on it. Serdwin? Considering this is a Welsh school, I guess that's the origin of her name. I look up and she's nowhere in sight. Oh crap. Quickly setting myself off, I run towards the entrance of the school. I just hope I can catch up to her. It doesn't take me long to get her in my sight, and then I call out to her. Serdwin, you dropped this. Serdwin turns around flustered, and I approach her with a ragged breath. Here you go. She gives me a shy response as I hand her the black card, or as I hand her back the card. It doesn't look like she's very comfortable with talking to me. It's on the card. Oh, sorry. My bad. Carrie looks rather uneasy. I guess some people just aren't that fluent socializing with others. Well, it's a good thing you got it back. We're both pretty early, so it would have taken a while for someone else to find it. By then, they probably would have just given it into the lost and found. She thanks me again, and her eyes are averted slightly away from my direction. Maybe put it in a safer place? You wouldn't risk losing it then. I know I don't have the right to tell her what to do with her stuff, but I mean, things like this are common sense. I guess she's an avid book fan. She must be quite smart. That or she likes books. But I decide to consider the conversation. What sort of books are you interested in? Fiction or non-fiction? Well, that was a short answer. She looks at me as if she expects me to belittle her, though I completely deny her expectations. Sounds great. It's good to have something that you're passionate about. Her lips move. I guess she can't stop herself from smiling. Moving my feet again, I set off towards the entrance of the school, turning around to face Carrie before I make any sufficient progress. It's still early, but we should still go to class. It's a bit cold after all. She doesn't know what class she's in? I mean, school started a week ago. Don't tell me she has amnesia. Carrie shyly passes me and heads towards the school, and I follow suit, heading towards my class. I guess she was a pretty interesting person. Classes are well underway, and the class is filled with a widespread sense of lethargy. It's Monday after all, and lunch is just around the corner. I mean, does anyone really want to learn about the structure of the inner mitochondrial membrane right before lunch? I lean back in my chair and just stare down at my notes, which are just little more than scribbles on a sparse page. In the end, I can't really say I expected anything different when transferring here. After all, the basic principles of teaching are the same wherever you go. I guess there's no reason why this school would be any different. Though the extra language lessons are a pain in the ass. Just as I let out a small but definitely noticeable yawn, the teacher glares sharply in my direction. Bored, are you, lobster? No, sir. No. Oh, that's a surprise. How about you answer the question at the bottom of page 3, then? I look at the closed book on my desk and realize what the teacher is referring to. I definitely haven't done a good job at pretending to work. Still, I oblige and turn to page 3. Moving my eyes towards the bottom of the page, I find a question that's somewhat relevant to what I managed to hear during the lesson. What is the space between the two mitochondrial membranes called? Is that the matrix? No, that's the bit inside. Well, boy, do you have an answer? The intermembrane space. I think that's right. The space inside the yeah, I think that's right. Looking across to the opposite page, I spot a diagram of a mitochondrion, with a nicely labeled arrow showing me the answer. Intermembrane space, sir. The confidence in my voice, or more likely the fact that I got the answer right, seems to have left my teacher surprised. Well done, Lobster. I guess you were paying attention after all. I certainly wasn't. The teacher continues on with the lesson, leaving me to lean back in my chair once again. This time, I'll try not to yawn. Soon enough, class ends, and I trail behind a massive gathering to exit the room. The crowd slowly shifts. The class has only about 30 people in it anyway. I stagger behind the other students residing in the corridor and make my way to the cafeteria. Chatter radiates from the swaths of people in the cafeteria. I weave my way through those standing around and people walking in the opposite direction. The line is long, as always. Unlike most schools, the food here is actually quite good, so naturally it's in high demand. I join this queue of students left famished by the morning lessons. Time slows as the line slowly inches forward. All of this for a sandwich? I know, mate. They're lush, aren't they? Made with 100% Welsh beef. That's what they say anyway. I find it hard to believe that they would import that stuff to Japan just for this one school. Eventually, I'm the one gazing at what's on offer at the counter. And to be honest, the guy was right. The beef here sure is lush. It's quite a prestigious school. I buy the sandwich and stuff it into my bag. This place is quite packed, so I doubt I'll find a place to sit down. Just as I'm about to leave, I spot a table that's actually empty. Well, almost. I notice someone familiar eating by herself. It's that girl from earlier. Carrie, wasn't it? I wonder if I should approach her. I hardly know her, but I kind of want to sit down. I mean, it's cold outside. Yeah, let's approach her. You know what? I may as well approach her. She's alone after all. I've been in that situation plenty of times this past week. I know how it feels. One step at a time, I make my way over to the table, her silky braids gently resting at her sides. And unlike before, her braids only move due to her actions. As I draw closer, she takes notice of my presence and directs her head towards me. She hesitates to speak, but I'm planning on taking the initiative from the beginning. Hi, Carrie. It's me from earlier. I don't think I ever got a chance to introduce myself. I try my best to avoid sounding nervous. Walking up to a girl sitting by herself is pretty noticeable to everyone else in the hall. My name's Lobster. She's still pretty on edge. Perhaps I should just apologize to her and make a retreat. I'm sorry for walking up to you so suddenly. She abruptly stopped speaking after giving me a sign Her cheeks turn a rosy shade of red, and she directs her eyes away from me. I guess she's embarrassed. It did strike me as odd to why she's alone. Aside from her lack of self-confidence, she seems like a fairly nice person. She goes straight into why she's so alone. I never asked her, but I'm glad she thinks of me close enough to her to explain it to me, even though we just met. Though, given that she seems so introverted, maybe I am the only person, and that is. Is that why she told me earlier that she needed to find out what classes she was in? Her face continues to grow to deeper shades of red. Maybe I should converse with her to ease her explanation. Though with her personality, I don't know if it'll actually help. I can understand. I guess I'm new here, so I don't really have anyone to eat with. It's not really as relatable as an illness, though. Ugh. I kind of regret opening my mouth. Hers, though, continues moving as her lips gently let out her unstable speech patterns. That's actually a pretty sad thought. If she's been here this long, how come she's this alone? I mean, even with an illness, you'd expect her friends would still speak to her afterwards. No, I am making assumptions. I mean, for all I know, she could be good friends. She could be good friends with a classmate that just doesn't eat at school or is absent today. My gut feeling goes with the former conclusion, in spite of that idea. She delicately twirls the hair at the tip of her braid, nervously during the lag times of our conversation. Can't really think of anything to say, so I just decide to do something instead. It's bold, but I tear a sheet of paper from one of my books and scribble my phone number on it. If you ever need anyone to keep you company, then you can call me anytime. Or if you see me around school, just say hi. I doubt she'll do either, anyway. To downplay the forwardness of my actions, I think of the cheesiest quote I can and continue speaking. You know, birds of a feather flock together. Though her voice is quiet, I can still sense she's a bit shaken up. I thought giving it to her would be acceptable in this day and age. I mean, people are practically dependent on their phones now. Still, giving your number to someone of the opposite sex will probably remain direct for years to come. For some reason, she thanks me. Her pale fingers reach out towards her bag, and she gently takes out a rather pink and cute-looking phone. I didn't know anyone still used phone straps. But a daffodil charm swings in the air as she enters in my number, her body shaking slightly all the while. Finishing her sentence with a smile, she gazes at me. I smile back, of course, which in itself takes a little bit of courage, but her eyes quickly dart away to break our state of eye contact. She goes red again, and her mouth is slightly ajar, leaving her lips to glisten as the sunlight enters from the windows behind us. The chimes of the bell resonate throughout the room. I guess it's time to get prepared to go to class again. Carrie stands and shyly looks towards me as if she's expecting me to say something, which luckily for her I do. I enjoy speaking to her, even if she doesn't say very much. Like I said, feel free to contact me anytime. Though right now I guess we should get heading back to class. She trots along by my side, slightly behind me. Probably to keep her blushing face hidden, I guess. She seems to have a habit of going red. We part ways when I reach my classroom, with her giving me a hardly audible farewell once we do. The wooden chair behind my back is rigid and sticks into me, causing slight discomfort. My eyes dart across the pages before me, looking for any information that could make my life easier. Ugh, I hate homework. Words echo around the room as I speak solemnly to myself. I thought that it would be easier to just copy the answers straight from the textbook, but apparently they're not here. This heavy workload, however, does seem to compensate for the rather tranquil day at school. I did meet someone interesting, though. The blossom of rose on her cheeks, her silky golden hair, and her hushed voice. Carrie's presence would be minuscule by many, but I can't get her off of my mind. Lobster, dinner's almost ready. Calls from my mother reach my ear as I just about give up on my homework. It's not due for another week anyway, so I close the book and haphazardly toss it back on the shelf. The smell of cooking guides my way towards my door, but just as I'm about to leave my room, something stops me. My cell phone chimes and vibrates slightly on my desk, leaving me to consider who might be calling. If you never need anyone to keep you company, you can call me anytime. Or if you see me around school, just say hi. And that's right. I gave Carrie my number, didn't I? I wasn't really expecting her to call me, but I guess she was probably checking that I wasn't giving her a fake number as a joke. Lobster, are you coming? I'll be down in a minute. Probably not a minute, but it shouldn't be that long. I might just tell Carrie to call me back, but the least I can do is answer the phone. I pick up the device from my desk and answer the call. Carrie breathes through the speaker, her nervousness all too apparent, even through a mobile call. Hello? Carrie? Exactly what I was expecting. Carrie's voice seems a lot clearer, and the nervousness I had once heard is pretty much gone. Is it because she's not speaking to me in person? I mean, of course I'd answer. I gave you my number, didn't I? You didn't think it was fake, did you? I tease her about it. To be honest, if she gave me her number, I would probably think it was a fake too. And that is, if she wasn't so timid anyway. If her personality was different, she'd probably be pretty popular. Don't worry, I'm only teasing. Teasing a girl I just met seems pretty abnormal, but I can't deny her response was adorable. You seem fairly relaxed. I call her out on the contrast of her speech patterns. I already know the answer, but I just want to show her that she can speak to people clearly if she just tries. No, it's fine. She did say I was her first non-relative contact. Her stutter flares up again. Guess the concept of calling someone from school is still probably quite foreign to her. Lobster, your dinner will go cold at this rate. Get another shout from the dining room. By now my family's probably started eating without me. It's quite a traditional thing in this house for everyone to eat together. I'll have to tell Carrie to call me back. I'd like to speak to you too, but do you think you could call me back? Probably in half an hour? My dinner is ready, and my mother is being quite persistent about it. Carrie sounds a bit dejected about it, but there's nothing I can do. My mother is quite strict at times, and she'll probably scold me for ignoring her if I don't go now. Carrie and I bid temporary farewells, and I head downstairs, leaving the phone on my desk. An aromatic smell hits my nostrils as I enter the dining room. 3 pairs of eyes are looking in my direction. It seems my family are well into their meals. Finally decided to join us, brother? My little sister gives me a cheeky remark as I pull out the chair next to her and sit down to feast upon my now lukewarm meal. I'm too lazy to microwave it. How was school? You went about an hour early, didn't you? Oh, you knew about that? I did tell you the clock was broken before you left. Oh, so that's what she was trying to tell me. You can hardly call it before I left. I was out the door at that point. Well, whoops, how do I go back? Oh, I missed what he was saying. Okay, something about school. My mistake. My father let out an exuberant laugh as I continue eating. I don't think he realizes that no matter what time I get to school, classes don't start until they're scheduled to. In retrospect, I did get something out of going to school early today. I wouldn't have met Carrie otherwise. That reminds me, son. Have you met any fit girls? I asked you at breakfast and I didn't hear your response. That's because it was a stupid question. Interrupting my father, just as she did before, my mother joins the conversation. Perhaps I should actually give him an answer. He won't stop asking me otherwise. Should I? There is someone, not really. No, I have my computer for this. That would be something to bring up the panel. Yeah. No, I have my computer for that sort of thing. I can't make myself say something like that in front of my family. Well, even though it's true, I guess in a way. The other option is telling my father about Carrie, which is something I'm not keen on either. Don't worry, son. That face is the only answer I'll ever need. That look on your face, I know what it means. Go get her, son. My father gives me a thumbs up from across the table, and my mother bats him a scornful expression. He's not a pervert like you. You don't have to listen to him, Lobster. A clean plate sits in front of me as I finish up the remnants of my meal. I want to leave the room quickly so I don't have to face any more questions my father might conjure up. I stand up from the chair, move into the sink to quickly wash my dish. The thought of Carrie lingers on my mind as I leave the room and make my way step by step up the stairs. It's not unreasonable to suggest that I could end up in some sort of relationship with her. I mean, there's no sign of her having any friends aside from myself, and she is pretty attractive, to be honest. Letting my mind wander like that isn't good. It's too early to think about developing my relationship with her. I mean, we only just met this morning. On the topic of Carrie, I need to call her back in a minute. waiting for her to call again isn't an efficient use of time. Swinging it open, the door to my room creaks as I enter. My eyes shift towards my desk and I reach out for my phone. Clutching the phone in my hand, I redial the last number that called, and Carrie's number appears on the screen. It doesn't take long for her to pick up. I wonder if she was waiting for me. It was a pretty quick answer. Hey, Carrie. Where were we? Oh, that's right. We weren't really talking about anything in particular before. How about we talk for a bit then? Carrie's stutter flares up again. It's kind of cute, but I wouldn't really tell her that. What am I saying? What about hobbies? Yeah, I know you like literature, but is there anything else you like? Oh, oops. I cut her off. Dang it. Carrie pauses for a brief moment, and the sound of her breathing flows out of the speaker beside my ear. Oh, that's a really pretty instrument. The harp? You mean the instrument? So she can play the harp. Oh, that reminds me. So it's like the school logo then. It's like the school logo then. Ah, that must be it. I'm sure Wales is a Celtic country. My what? She wants to know my hobbies? Well, I did ask her the question after all. The problem is, though, I can't really think of anything that I would consider a hobby. I mean, there's nothing notable. Sharing a hobby with her wouldn't be a bad thing. I guess I could give it a go. Sure, you can let me when you like. Yeah, that's fine. Thinking back on what my father had said before, I can definitely say that I like Carrie. Though in what way, it's kind of hard to tell. It's not unreasonable to say that there's a possibility. I mean, she's kind of sweet after all. I don't know. I mean, I guess I shouldn't really be thinking about it now. I imagine Carrie pulling a cute smile to match the enthusiasm she put into that statement. She must really have a passion for reading, beyond wanting to study literature. I'm looking forward to it. I hear a voice that isn't Carrie coming from the end of the line. I guess someone must be calling up to her. Don't worry, I left for dinner earlier, so, I mean, you go and have yours. But I'll see you at school tomorrow. Bye. The line falls silent as Carrie hangs up, and I place the phone back down on my desk once again. For the first time this past fortnight, I'm actually looking forward to going to school. Carrie and I have seemed to have developed quite a good friendship within just the course of a day. It's quite surprising, really. As I turn to the seat by my desk, I peer at the sprawl of papers I had left lying before me. All right, I was doing homework. There's nothing else I can think of doing, so I reach up to the shelf where I'd left my workbook and continue on with the task that I was doing. Well, if I get it out of the way now, maybe I'll have more time later in the week to speak with Carrie again. A breeze rustles my coat as I approach the school gates. In contrast with yesterday, I'm actually here at the right time. The sounds and sights of other students fill my mind as I move swiftly to get to homeroom. The mornings this time of year are very cold, but I expect it to be a lot warmer this far south. Let me save it here. Sleeping slot 1. I've been doing 40 minutes. Let's go for an hour. Let's try and make an hour recording. And last time my recording stopped midway, so let me just check to make sure it's still going. Yeah, it's still going. But I think at about the hour 20-minute mark, the OBS starts to overload a little bit. So I'll try and keep it about an hour. Maybe I'll just do multiple streams for now. Oh, let's return. The sounds and sights of other students fill my mind as I move swiftly to get to homeroom. Oh, I already read that. The mornings this time of year are very cold, but I expect it to be a lot warmer this far south. Dispelling the idle thoughts in my head, one thing sure is missing: the presence of Carrie. I kind of walked to school with her yesterday, so I thought I'd see her here again today. Though I guess for her it wasn't a mistake that she came so early. She told me to meet her at lunch so she could give me a book, didn't she? I mean, that sure is something to look forward to. My timetable lessons don't look very promising, so it'll give me something to think about until then. The half-full classroom is split between those enthralled to begin lessons and the apathetic slackers who just want to get it over with. I sit at my desk and join the latter group. Dust shimmers as sunlight enters through the windows. One by one, more students enter the class as the clock on the wall creeps towards 8 o'clock. My mind wanders on to the thought of Carrie once more. Where am I supposed to find her when the lunch bell rings? I mean, I guess the most reasonable place would be the cafeteria. That's where I found her yesterday. Or maybe not. I mean, I doubt she'd be comfortable giving me a present in front of a crowd of people, even if it is just a book. I lean back against the chair as I typically would and slowly watch the clock spin and spin as lessons go by, waiting for the lunch bell to arrive. Stretching my arms, I look up at the clock to check if the sound I just heard wasn't a hallucination. I don't have schizophrenia as far as I'm aware. People are definitely getting up and leaving the classroom, likely heading towards the cafeteria. Some do stay behind. I guess various Japanese high school customs still stick, even in a foreign school. The curriculum may be different, but the attitude of the students certainly isn't. Standing up, I trail behind everyone else to leave the room. Looks like I'm the last person to leave. The corridor isn't the only thing that greets me as I step outside. Before me stands Carrie, basking in the sunlight. A book is held out in her hands and practically shoved into my chest. Her face is red, apt for the situation. I'm pretty sure mine is too. The blossom of embarrassment on her cheeks is a cute sight. She seems to be reluctant to make eye contact, though. Oh, okay. It's only better for me as I get to look at the glint of my own reflection in her amber eyes. That's very close. That's very close. Thanks. And the book itself looks fairly worn. Judging by the condition of the pages, she must have read this quite a few times. I am only borrowing it, so she probably wants to read it again in the future. She lightly exclaims that fact, and I take the book from her. The title is embossed on cover, as opposed to a fancy design or a sleeve. It must be a fairly old print. Despite its blemishes, she seems to have taken quite good care of it. Once again, I look at Carrie's cute profile. She still holds a blush, which suits her all too well. An adorable trait of hers. Her breath is still ragged with nervousness. I watch her chest move inwards and out as she regains her breathing, though I quickly look away after I realize how perverse the action is. How about we go get some lunch then? We can't keep standing around here. I slip the book into my bag carefully and invite Carrie to join me for lunch. Carrie slightly jitters as we both head down the corridor towards the cafeteria, as I spend my second lunch break of the week with her. No doubt I can get used to this, though I feel as if I already am. Noise resonates through the walls of my room as I hear my sister blasting some foreign pop music. Alt's speaking to her friend on the phone. I would go in there and tell her to quiet down, but I'm too lazy to do so. After enjoying a nice lunch break with Carrie, despite neither of us really saying anything, the remaining classes were rather dull and uninteresting. The only thing that really kept me going was the thought of Carrie, as dodgy as that sounds. I look to the right. Beside me sits the book Carrie had given me earlier. Reading it now would give me something to do, but I don't think I could make it that far into it. It's quite late, and I still have some work left to do. Though I'm reminded of Carrie's flustered face as she presented it to me. It really meant a lot to her. Giving it a read couldn't hurt. Yeah, let's read the book. The book is fairly thin, though it'll still take me until tomorrow night at earliest to finish it. That is, if I can read it fast enough. Though if Carrie asks me about it tomorrow, at least I'll have something to talk to her about. Grasping the book, I open the cover and begin reading it page by page. The theme of it is quite apparent, even before the end of the first chapter. It's a love story. The book suits Carrie pretty well. It would have been weird if the book was a sci-fi novel or something absurd like a guide on dog grooming. And does she even have a dog? I wouldn't know. soon enough, I find myself at the end of the second chapter. So far, it's been fairly interesting. Definitely something different than I was expecting from a love story. Definitely something different than I was expecting from a love story. I should probably make a few mental notes of what I've read so far, just to give us something to talk about. She doesn't really converse that much, so I want to talk with her more. I set the book down beside me where it once sat. My body twists as I slip out of the space between the chair and my desk. For once, I should probably get to dinner early. Okay, let's save it there again. Has it been about an hour yet? Oh, that was only 10 minutes. Okay. But you know, that was only about 10 minutes, but I'm starting to feel my voice get a little bit raspy, so I think I need to take a little bit of a break. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you look forward to seeing me continue this novel next time. Until then, have a great day, and remember, spread the love.